Hey there.
Hey,
What's
how's it
up,
going?
Lucas? How are you?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome.
So, yeah, why don't you tell me about yourself, where you're at, what you're trying to do?
All right, yeah. So it's been a bit of a long road for me. And obviously I'm a non-traditional student. Been on this path for quite a while, over 6, 7, 8 years. MCAT's been my biggest struggle. So thus far, taken it twice so far. First time was a 485 without any studying. Second time with some studying, I got a 500. My biggest limiting factor, I feel like, is my car score. Just for some reason, not able to see any improvement in it. Kind of like locked in at, 120, 121. So after taking my MCAT the second time, I actually got into like a master's program or a post-bac program, which then led to like a master's program, which then led to like another master's program. Finally applied last cycle. Got placed on two wait lists and didn't ultimately didn't get into any of the schools. So after that, my MCAT expired, so I was kind of down the road of having to take it again, and yeah, facing
What,
the
roughly when did you take the 485 and the 500?
485. I think it's 487. I want to say the 485 was in 2017, I believe. 2016,
Okay.
2017.
And the 500.
500 was 2021.
Okay,
Yeah, 2021.
got it. And what have you been, I mean, have you started your MCAT prep yet for the
Yeah, so started studying after I got placed on the wait list back in March. I've been studying ever since. I was planning on taking it in September, I guess last week. But I just wasn't hitting the marks that I wanted to hit within my car score. Everything else I can see improvement, I can work on an improvement, but I'm just not seeing any progress in cars.
got it.
I really wanted to just like kind of nail that down.
Got it, got it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, usually for the first session I like make like a study plan for students,
Mhm.
but if you really just want to focus on cars, we can kind of just dive right into like a cars passage if you'd like.
Okay.
Unless you want like to do that other stuff like making like a study schedule or something.
Not schedule, not so much. Kind of know how to set that all up. I'm constantly working on doing practice questions right now.
Yeah.
Tackling like whatever my weakest subjects are. Just for me, it's just really the cars aspect is kind of like killer for me.
Got it. So yeah, what cars resources have you been using?
So I first started off, years back was I did UWorld. Second MCAT, I did a little bit mixture of UWorld and Jack Weston.
Uh-huh.
This time around, my
Yeah.
second time, I kind of missed out on doing the AAMC practice
Yeah.
cars questions. So kind of like ran out of time. So this time around, I'm just doing like daily Jack Western passages. And then obviously about a month out before my test, I'll probably well not probably I will start doing more of the AAMC. I've done the diagnostic. I've done like twice. I've done I did the first Cars Q pack. But yeah, right now it's mostly just Jack Weston, Khan Academy,
So you
and
said for AMC you did the first cars Q pack?
I did the first Cars Q pack. But that was like a couple months ago, so probably I've forgotten everything in there. Um,
And then what about question back two and the cars diagnostic tool from AMC?
Diagnostic I've done twice.
Okay.
Question Park 2 I have not done.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, okay. So let's, do you want to just like dive into like a passage and we can go
Yeah,
over?
sure, sure.
So, um, I'm not sure if you've seen like the videos that I have where I go over cars. Have you ever seen any of those?
I have not. I have not.
So Yeah, so we're gonna do something similar to that. So also for cars, like have you noticed any particular like subject area that you find to be
Yeah. I'm horrible at anything to do with anthropology. Um, uh, I want to say like humanities. History is okay. Mostly it's like anthropology and anything that has to do with any type of like English or language focused studies.
so anthropology, maybe literature,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, literature.
linguistics.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, what about like art, history and stuff?
Art is like hit or miss, depending on I guess my interest in it.
Yep.
If it's something like if it's interesting, then I can kind of like nail it down. If it's not interesting, then it's kind of like I don't know what's going on.
Yep. So yeah, we're gonna work on trying to trick yourself to be interested in the thing.
Mhm.
But let's see if we can like yeah, like I guess just dive right in. Let's see. I'm gonna look at did you do the Vindiha Neanderthals?
Is that Jack Weston or
Or yeah.
let me see.
Or you could
Doesn't doesn't sound familiar.
yeah, like you could even like share your screen.
Okay.
You can kind of look through the different passages and find one that is something that you haven't done or
Okay.
that could
Do you recommend anything like Jack Western or
yeah, Jack Wilson's fine.
okay, I'll do that. Share my screen. All right. Mhm.
So let's see. So up here where it says topics, yeah, and then you can hit like anthropology or something down here. And yeah, there's a bunch of these. I guess there's even like origins of language and stuff. So
Okay.
whichever one, yeah, what do you think? Oh wait, I think the ones in like that purple
Yeah,
color, ones that
they've
you
already been done. Yeah.
and or and then these wait, are the blue ones the ones that you've done rather than the
Right.
pink ones?
Right. Yeah. The ones with check marks are the ones that I've
As
completed already.
reset? Okay. So yeah, okay. We can do the um let's see.
Oh, this is the one you had mentioned earlier.
Um yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay. We
one.
can tackle this one.
All right, let's do it.
All right. You want me to read out loud or
So scroll down a bit on the left so we can like let's try to get the entire okay. Let's zoom out a bit.
gotcha?
Hold control my yeah. Let's see if you can zoom in a little bit more. Let's see like how we can best fit it. Let's go down a tiny bit, like scroll down a tiny bit. Okay. Well, let's see if we can get it so it fits.
Ah,
If you use the, yeah. If you scroll up a tiny bit more on the left, a little bit more. The right, okay, there we go.
okay.
Pretty sure this is the top of it. So, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Um, okay, tell me how you normally approach cars passengers.
So recently now it's more so I'd had an issue with reading like my timing. But now I kind of cut that down to about 4.5 minutes. So now typically I kind of just go through, read each paragraph, highlight the pronouns or things that stick out to me as I read through, just to kind of keep myself actively engaged in it. And then I just kind of keep track of like the overall I guess, theme of the passage, and then I kind of just go in and start answering the questions based off what I
Mhm.
remember from the
So, so
passage.
for like the next, like, let's say 2 to 3 weeks that we
Mhm.
like work together, I would say don't do any like worry about doing anything timed yet. Let's
Okay.
let's first get the accuracy down, because if you like have if you're doing it with unlimited time and you're getting things wrong,
Right.
doing things timed is just going to be like more things wrong. So we want to, so yeah, we're going to start off like what I usually do with my students is I set up like a 3 phase kind of curriculum, and it
Mhm.
starts off great. Phase one involves a couple of things, but phase one involves like not doing anything under a time constraint to make sure that you're able to understand things on that foundational level. And then once
Okay.
we enter phase two, that's when we're going to do third party full lengths. And
Okay.
that's when you're going to just be doing things timed, like automatically, right? And phase three will be the AAMC exams.
Okay.
Uh, and that would be like the last thing you would do before your actual test. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to be focusing on accuracy here. Now, so cars is all about arguments. Okay. It's not about like in a science passage or science textbook, you take everything that they say to be like infallible, like completely true. Like you can't,
Right.
but cars is all about arguments. And arguments are not facts, right? Arguments are like opinions or
Mhm.
theories or hypotheses or concepts or ideas or assertions, claims. These are all arguments. So that's your number one job in cars, to find out the arguments, who's making the arguments, and what support, if any, is given for those arguments. So what I'm going to have you do is like read very, very slowly. And that's another kind of counterintuitive thing, but you want to, you know, like if you're riding a bike or learning how to ride a bike, you start with like training wheels and all that stuff. So like that analogy is going to be what we're kind of be like going to do here. So we're going to
Okay.
start off very, very slow. So I'm going to have you read out loud slowly, um and after each sentence, I want you to tell me, is this like a new argument, same argument, or like let's say like a modification of an argument? But typically
Okay.
it'd be like new argument, same argument. And after you see the argument, you'll kind of see what I mean by the next sentence being like same idea support in the form of like elaboration, something like that.
Okay.
But yes, we want to keep track of arguments, who's making the arguments, and Um, yeah, and this what support, if any, is given.
Okay.
Now, you're not going to do any highlighting for this. I'm going to highlight some stuff, and it's going to be like it's not going to be like I mean, I'm going to use like different colors to highlight things, which I
Mhm.
know you can't do on the test, but it's just going to be for instruction purposes.
Okay.
What we're going to do is like so I'm going to be doing that as you like read. Um, but also we're going to be doing something called a map, which essentially is going to be us writing down like somewhere on the side, like the supported argument from each paragraph. We're going to write that in something called the map. And once we've completed that map, like meaning once you get to the end of the passage,
Hmm.
what constitutes a main idea, okay, is any argument that's in more than one paragraph.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it doesn't have to like you could have more than one main idea. I mean, like technically, yeah, you could have more than one main idea. But that's more so just to tell you that you don't have to like combine everything to make that main idea. It's just you'll see when it comes to the questions that we categorize it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be highlighting in light green arguments. I'm gonna be highlighting support, if there's any, in orange, and there's also contrast words like but, although, however, yet, despite, things like that, that are I'm going to highlight it in pink.
Okay.
And you'll kind of see how there's going to be like kind of like a somewhat of a hierarchy in terms of like, because like contrast words are really good for kind of sussing out what the author believes, because like I said, like there's going to be tons of arguments made by different people, but we need to figure out what the author's argument, or what the author's argument is. So
Okay.
yep, so any questions?
Nope. Kind of I like that process. I feel like that's kind of like where I struggle at is, reading through and like kind of deciding what the sentence is leading towards or
Yep,
um
yep. And yeah, we're gonna have you want to understand a Cars passage so well that you don't have to reread it.
mhm.
Sure, there will be perhaps a tiny amount of questions that will reference something in the passage really, really specific, but even then, like Cars is a different vote is a different critical reading test from any other, like from SAT, ACT, and like all those other tests, because they don't ask you like retrieval questions. They don't ask you like what did they say in paragraph 5, right? It's all about how does this new information affect the argument? What's the argument? All sorts of stuff regarding that. So um and also, yeah, so to continue that, the number one issue that I see students make, it's super common too, is they zoom through the passage, not really understanding it. They zoom through the question stem, not really understanding it. And then they frantically search through the passage for words that show up in some of the question choices.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I call that mix and match. And that's like how you get the trap answer. Because if you think about it, if you're making a test like this, right, you can't just make the right answer like obviously right and all the wrong answers obviously wrong, right? You want to make some answer choices that have some valid reasoning behind it, but ultimately still is wrong.
Mhm.
Because either it doesn't, like for example, there could be an answer choice that just goes over like a true statement, but it has to answer the question.
Right, right.
But anyway, so yeah, why don't you start off?
All right. All right. Theories abound about the fate of the Neanderthals.
Okay, what's that saying? So that's our new idea right there.
Okay.
And
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so it's got ideas about pretty much how the Neanderthals or their fate, I guess, the fate of the Neanderthals, how they ended.
yeah, exactly. I like how you said like you're starting to say something about Neanderthals, and then you said the fate of the Neanderthals, and then you said how they ended. That's good. Like
Okay. Okay.
I want you to be thinking that way, because they're going like the MCAT, even all the science sections, they're so subtle and nuanced in their language that if someone said something like, "Oh, it just says that there's theories about Neanderthals," like that's not as precise as you want it to be, right? Because now
Mm.
it's the fate, meaning how they like disappeared or whatever. Great job. So yeah, there's theories about the fate of the Neanderthals. Great. So we have our new idea here. And
Okay.
usually when I see a new idea, I imagine I'm talking to the author and I'm asking, what do you mean by that?
Okay.
So
Okay.
typically what you'll see after the argument will be elaboration. So like
Okay.
next sentence will probably be like same idea, because we still want to have the three types of sentences where it's new idea, same idea, add on, which is a modification. So if the first sentence is new idea, the next sentence will likely be same idea, but elaboration.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. You can continue.
So the most common picture painted by researchers is that they were not quite as bright as modern man, even though they had larger brain cavities. were rather brutish and were driven to extinction by the more facile and nimble modern Homo sapiens who flooded into the Europe from Africa.
All right.
Okay.
What's this saying?
So this is, what you were saying, an explanation of that idea about how the Neanderthals became extinct. And it gave us, they told us that they had small brains, very brutish or very animalistic, and were driven to extinction by, I guess, more superior humans.
Yeah. Um, so okay, you said something about their brains. Um, so this thing here, is this something that the author is saying? Like, uh,
Mm.
the okay, so they're saying that, or someone saying, right, that like so we first said that there's theories about the fate of Neanderthals, and now
Mhm.
we're talking about the most common kind of theory, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, um, and what does that most common theory say?
Most common theory says that they weren't as smart as modern man.
Now, after this parentheses here, that kind of, I mean, what do you think about what's being said in the parentheses?
So I kind of learned, I don't know if it's correctly, but to just kind of just disregard that and not even pay attention to
Wait, what? Which part?
even though they had larger brain cavities.
Yeah. What do
I feel like as far as my reading has been, I feel like I get more from the passage without reading what's in the parentheses out, even though the parentheses is just explaining what I've just read.
you want to make sure you read everything because that's very,
Okay.
very important. Because like so who's saying that they weren't as bright? Is that what the author is saying?
So the author is saying that the researchers are saying that the Neanderthals weren't as bright. And then I guess the author is coming in and saying even though they had larger brain cavities, meaning
Yeah.
they had bigger brains, but
Yep. So this is exactly what I mean by the argument and then who's saying the argument, right?
okay.
Because the parentheses are super important here because it shows that the author doesn't quite, I mean, it's not explicitly stated, but the author is, it doesn't really, it seems like the author doesn't really believe that
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Neanderthals are not as bright, right? Because
Hmm.
the author is saying they had larger brain cavities, right? So that gives you a bit of like a hint that the author is not quite agreeing with this. And a lot of times in cars, you'll see that. You'll see like, let's say paragraph one says A causes, let's say like, I'll like draw something. Like let's say that paragraph one says A causes D. Let's say paragraph two, B causes D. And then paragraph three, or some people or like researchers, whatever.
Hmm.
Paragraph three could be like, but actually C causes D. Or, it could say it's actually like B causes D or something like that. A lot of
Hmm.
times authors will describe arguments simply to dismantle them later on. So, oops. But yeah, no, you want to read everything.
Okay. Okay.
Everything is important. So, and like I would say like even more so for the parentheses because you get to see, yeah, that the author doesn't quite agree. So okay, they're not as bright, all right. And you were saying that they were. what else were you saying?
Uh, Going into the next fragment, we're rather brutish and we're driven to extinction by the more facile and nimble modern Homo sapiens. So that to me tells me that um, I guess researchers are saying that the Neanderthals were, a little bit more animalistic, a little more brutal in nature, and they were driven to extinction by, I guess, more superior humans or Homo sapiens.
So when you say more superior, what do you mean exactly?
That's kind of what I get. That my takeaway from the more facile and more nimble. I just think of something that's more, I don't know what facile means, but something that's more nimble is kind of is able or has adapted to, environment to move, I guess, in a better sense.
Yeah, yeah. So I would stick to exactly how they're being described. So
Okay.
I like wouldn't say superior yet because there's a lot of things that can make someone superior. Like, if they're not as bright as modern man, then modern man would be superior, I guess, intellectually. But uh but so far what we just see is that yeah, they're more nimble. They're better at being able to move. And that's just the most common kind of, theory, I suppose.
Mhm.
Okay, continue.
All right. All right. So far from intermarrying or trading with their newly arrived cousins, the stocky, thick-browed Neanderthals may even have been slaughtered by them.
Okay.
As
What do they
oh,
say?
so I get a sense of I guess I get a little confusion here because I don't know if they're saying that the Neanderthals slaughtered their newcomers or the newcomers slaughtered the Neanderthals.
Uh well, let's try this first part. So this first part says far from, what does that mean? The far, like,
Intermarrying, it's pretty much marrying or best pretty much getting with these new modern Homo sapiens
yeah.
merging. Yeah.
So like, so it's saying that they haven't intermarried with the Homo sapiens and they haven't traded with the Homo sapiens either. And in addition to that, that they may have actually just been killed straight up by them, right?
Right. Okay. Okay.
So maybe I'd do far, intermarrying, trading, and then slaughtered. And you'll also see like the words that I highlight are nouns because
Hmm.
you can kind of fill in all the verbs and prepositions and whatever in your head. But if you just kind of read what I wrote in terms of highlights, I literally call it caveman speech, and it's funny because but it's like if you just read what I highlighted, it says theories, fate, Neanderthals. So in my head, I fill that in with there's lots of theories about the fate of Neanderthals. Then common, not bright, brutish, and then facile, nimble, modern Homo sapiens. So that's caveman speech for saying the most common, view is that they weren't as smart as modern human beings. They were brutish and they were not as nimble. And then far intermarrying, trading, slaughtered, saying in my head that far from intermarrying or trading, they were probably killed by the Homo sapiens, right? Oh,
Okay.
did you? I think you said something about you were unsure if the slaughter was of the Neanderthals or the Homo
Or
sapiens.
Homo sapiens, but yeah, you clear that up though. Obviously now it's the Homo sapiens slaughtered
Mhm.
the Neanderthals.
Yep. Good. Okay. Yep. Continue.
All right. So as the story goes, the last few Neanderthals huddled in caves in Europe's Iberian Peninsula in Spain during the last great ice age and disappeared quietly about 34,000 years ago. So this is, further explaining or, further details about the disappearance of the Neanderthals,
Mhm.
and kind of where they kind of left or, kind of like disappeared off to
Mhm.
in that year, the peninsula in Spain.
Awesome. So now we're going to write, like, jot something down for this paragraph that is basically writing down like the argument. And um, so I'll start the first one. So I'm gonna write common theory, fate of the Neanderthals um, is not right, not or brutish, and then either,
Nimble or passable.
could have been killed uh, by Homo sapiens instead of intermarriage slash trading. And so I wrote paragraph one, common theory, fate N, which is Neanderthal, is not bright, brutish, could have been killed off by Homo sapiens instead of intermarriage slash trading. Okay. Now, with enough practice, you're going to be able to predict some of these things. And so I'm predicting that we're going to get a new paragraph that will start with a contrast word.
Okay.
Okay. You can move on to that next paragraph.
Okay. All right. So, but
There we go.
contrast word.
So that contrast word is super important because it means that whatever came before it will be different from whatever comes after it. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times that what comes after that contrast word will be more close to the author, the actual author's
Point, point
belief.
of view.
Yep. So, so yeah. So this view that we talked about, or theory that we talked about in paragraph one, is just the most common theory, but it's not what the author believes. And we had a clue there with even though they had larger brain cavities, but now it's right in our face that we have our contrast words. So the author's going to say some different stuff, most likely. So, yep, we can continue.
All right. So, but new findings from a cave in Croatia, combined with other recent discoveries, may upset some scholars. Hereditary apple carts. So this is the author bringing in some new information, saying that there was a cave which is different than the peninsula of Spain. This cave in Croatia has, brought in some new discoveries about these Neanderthals,
Yep. And
and
then,
it's upset some scholars. So
yeah, why do you think? Why do you think?
So it's gonna upset some of these the previous, the previous theory that these researchers had. Mainly maybe because uh well they said that, well their arguments were that they weren't as smart
Mhm.
and brutish, so maybe they found some new discoveries that, counteract that, say that they are smart.
Very
Um,
good. Yep, yep. Very, very good. Okay, yep. Continue.
all right. In a paper published in the October 26th issue of the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, a team of investigators report that the most recent remains found in the cave, which is located about 34 miles north of the Croatian capital of Zagreb, indicate that Neanderthals and modern man must have coexisted in Central Europe for at least 6 millennia. Okay.
There we go. So now you can see that this cave in Vindesia or whatever is like some evidence, and we have some evidence after the paper published. So I highlighted that in orange, and it's good to be aware of that support. So like those are like the three main things. What's the argument? Who's making the argument? And what's the support, if any? Because there's always going to be questions that'll be like, which of the following assertions was not backed up by evidence, or this is a new piece of evidence. Does this weaken or strengthen the argument? Or, you know, they're always going to ask things like that. Um, so yeah, good to be aware of that. And yeah, so it's exactly what we were expecting from that contrast word, because now we're saying, hey, you know what? They at least coexisted, maybe more, right? Maybe they did some.
Intermarrying
Yep,
and
yep.
yeah.
So yeah, we
Okay.
don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we
All
know
right.
that it might go in that direction. So good, good, good. All right, continue.
All right. Most scientists would have expected to find the latest Neanderthal in Southwest Europe rather than in Central Europe, said paleontologist Fred H. Smith, a research team member and chairman of the anthropology department at the Northern Illinois University.
Good. So for some reason, we don't know why, like they expected to find it in the last Neanderthal in Southwest Europe rather than Central.
Mhm.
So I don't know why, but that's just what they're giving us. So, okay, what can we put in our map for this paragraph?
So paragraph two would essentially be, um, but new findings show that the Neanderthals coexisted with modern man for hundreds of years,
Mhm.
and were found in, uh, I guess, Central Europe.
Mhm. So I wrote arrow to the above. CW just means contrast word.
Hmm.
Coexisted, and then I just put the October 26th paper for support. And then they found in the Vindesia cave, which happens to be in Central Europe, not Southwest Europe, which could be something. And that's RTA means reference to authority, and that's Fred Smith. So we have some some good empirical evidence there. Um, good, good, good. Okay, you can continue.
Cool. All right. Other findings from Vindesia are even more intriguing. So I guess other would be the contrast word here too.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, because so the initial contrast word was in paragraph two to say in Vindesia or Vindiha or however you pronounce it, we found some stuff that goes against the common picture in
mhm.
paragraph one. But here we're just saying other findings from Vindiha,
To support that.
yeah,
Yeah.
are even more intriguing. And my take is if the author is saying that this is even more intriguing, it's going to lean towards them perhaps either intermarrying or trading because it seems like the author is kind of has that kind of I don't know, like attitude about it or belief about it. So yeah, good, yeah.
All right. Sorry. So it appears that the two groups, at the very least, traded with each other and may have even interbred.
Yep. And like we're gonna kind of saw that coming, right?
Hmm.
So like yeah, of course, if you didn't see anything like that up here, like you would eventually see it like there in paragraph three. But yeah, you can kind of get a feel for the author's tone. Because why does he like because again, this thing may upset some other people. Like this. these new findings from this Vindiha cave to researchers, like most researchers, would not find that intriguing, right? They would be like, oh no, that goes against what I'm
Everything. Yeah.
theorizing, right? But we know that the author kind of feels differently and makes sense that he would use the word intriguing.
Hmm.
But yeah, there we go. Traded and may have interbred. That already goes against the most common theory, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So, for example, Neanderthals are commonly associated with stone tools, while early modern humans made more sophisticated stone and bone tools.
So Neanderthals, bone tools, modern humans, stone and bone tools.
Mhm.
Okay.
But those unearthed at Vindiha were both kinds of tools, including a beveled bone, probably used as the tip of a spear.
Anything special in this sentence? Any word?
Um, well, but
Yep. So, so what's before the but? What's being said before the but?
so what's being said before the but is that the two groups, the Neanderthals and the modern humans, use tools. The Neanderthals use stone tools. Modern humans use more sophisticated stone and bone tools.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, is that statement backed up by anything?
um, Not necessarily. We're just giving it as is this being brought to us as an example?
Uh-huh. And let's say that I mean, we haven't looked past the but yet, but since we have that but at the end of this, we can kind of see, or what do you think the author would think about that, perhaps?
Um, what would
Well,
the
I
author
guess
think?
just wanted to say that earlier we had our common picture, right?
Hmm.
And now we're saying Neanderthals are commonly associated with stone tools, right?
Hmm.
So this is all like the common general kind of thing that the
Theory.
author doesn't seem to.
Oh, not gonna necessarily support
What's up?
that the author doesn't necessarily support or agree with.
Yep. So he's probably going to say something like, you know. So okay, yep. Continue.
All right. But those unearthed at Vindia were both kinds of tools, including a beveled bone, probably used as the tip of a spear. So the author is saying that what was unearthed um, gives rise to a new theory or new thought or added thought that, not only did the Neanderthals and modern humans intermarry, but they also lived together and used tools that were shaped or enhanced by one another.
Yeah. So I think at most what we can say here is that okay, Neanderthals commonly associated with stone tools, modern humans commonly associated with sophisticated stone and bone tools, but at Vendiha they found both types of tools,
Mm,
like Neanderthal type tools, human type tools. And so far, we haven't had, or no one's presented a hypothesis or theory for why that is. They'll probably say that soon. But so far, we're starting off with like the evidence first,
yeah.
which is different from kind of like paragraph one, which has
Very
no evidence really, right? So, yep, good, good, good. So yeah, we have these rhetorical questions, and then yeah, Smith says.
Yeah. So the big question is, why do we have a combination of tools? Smith says. It's possible Neanderthals developed all these tools or got the bone tools through trade with moderns. So here it kind of further supports the idea of, trading trading and the intermarrying aspects.
The
Um,
intermarriage.
Mostly here trading, but
So the trading part, yeah. Um, but there's another part because
yeah. Saying that the Neanderthals developed all the tools. Yeah, and doesn't include the Homo sapiens.
yeah, and that would still go against that common belief, right? Because the common, so the common picture up there and the common association is that Neanderthals are not able to make sophisticated stone tools.
Mhm.
So the findings at Vindiha, whichever way you look at it, are contrary. Like either they got the stone tools from the humans, the Homo sapiens, which meant that they traded, which disproves or at least weakens the common picture,
Mhm.
or they developed the tools themselves, which means
We could.
that they may not have traded and they may not have intermarried, but they were smart enough to make these new tools. So it goes against what the researchers and stuff um are like set before, right? So so yeah, then this last sentence here just says um both possibilities run counter to the generally accepted idea that Neanderthals could not produce implements from bone or use more sophisticated stone and bone tools. So yeah, we just like talked about that, but I guess this is another example of like if you didn't catch it right away, just they'll likely kind of tell you or condense it for you, right?
Mhm.
So okay, great. What can you put for this paragraph?
So paragraph 3, uh, other findings, trade and interbred, Neanderthals, uh, say, I want to say Neanderthals could have developed all tools, but I feel like that would be skipping some crucial information if I just summed it up that way.
Sorry, tell me that again.
I want to say other findings show Neanderthals traded and interbred, um, and that they may have even developed all tools, all or developed all the bone and stone tools.
So put arrow to the above, traded and or interbred, Neanderthal stone tools, HS, Homo sapiens, sophisticated stone slash bone tools, both found in Bindija and contradictory to the common story because either they traded to get those tools or they made those sophisticated stone slash bone tools themselves.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
All right. So, in earlier work, Smith also argued that late Neanderthals fossils from the Vendiha cave had some modern human anatomical characteristics. Okay. Um, so what sticks out to me is Smith, and that goes back up to paragraph 2. He's the paleontologist. So Smith argued that the Neanderthal fossils also included human parts
Human
or human
parts.
characteristics.
Mhm.
These conclusions also reinforce findings published by another team member, Eric Trinkus, an anthropologist at Washington University in St. Louis. So these findings or this extra support is also reinforced by more findings that was published by Eric's team.
Wait,
right?
Wait, sorry, where were you reading
Uh,
last?
So I read the first sentence here and the second sentence here.
Okay.
And what I got from those or these two
Oh,
sentences
yeah.
were that, Smith argued that the Neanderthal fossils from the cave had modern human anatomical characteristics, which is further supported or further reinforced by the findings of Eric's team.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. You did a great job at identifying who's saying what. And yeah, great, great, great. And then yeah, you can continue.
All right. Oh, sorry. Put that down there. All right. All right. Last June, Trinkus and European colleagues described the fossil of a 24,500-year-old early modern human child unearthed in Portugal. So this sentence is saying, haven't really told us anything other than the fact that they have this fossil and that they're getting ready to describe to us something about this fossil.
What do you think they'll describe to us?
So previous sentences said that there were some modern human anatomical characteristics.
Mhm.
Maybe that there is now maybe we might get some insight on the interbreeding here.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So they observed that it had distinctive Neanderthal characteristics, an indication of interbreeding. Okay, cool.
Yep. See how you're starting to predict these things?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So Neanderthals were not hunted by our ancestors. Our ancestors mated with them, absorbing them into their own population. So this sentence goes on to further, I guess, counteract the common theory that was given, saying how that earlier researchers thought that they were slaughtered by the Neanderthals were slaughtered by the Homo sapiens, but this goes on to show us that, not only Smith's team, but Eric's team found information to support that they mated with each other.
Smith slash Trinkow found Neanderthal fossil with Homo sapien characteristics. Neanderthal not hunted by Homo sapiens, but mated.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right. Moreover, the new Croatian dates indicating thousands of years of coexistence between Neanderthals and early modern humans in Central Europe cast in a different light a study from the University of Toronto in which scientists compared the DNA of Neanderthal with the DNA of contemporary humans. Um, so moreover kind of like sticks out to me. And it's more information to support more information to support that there was intermarrying. So there's a mixture of DNA between the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens. So this is more evidence.
Um, because of the DNA, right?
Right,
Or
right.
so so that could be like evidence, University of Toronto. Um, oh wait, sorry, where were you up to?
I got down to here.
Okay.
Temporary humans.
Okay. So new Croatian dates. Um, that's the one. Okay, the sixth millennium one or whatever. Um, okay, yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Published 2 years ago, the study concluded that while Neanderthals and early modern humans may have coexisted in Europe, they probably didn't mate. They probably didn't mate. This study has proven now to be wrong. Okay.
Okay.
So paragraph 5, uh, um, new information from Toronto supports that scientists found comparing DNA or similar DNA between Neanderthals and modern humans, which um, I guess which proves that a previous study was is wrong.
Yeah, the previous study that said what?
That they didn't coexist in Europe,
That they,
that they didn't make in Europe was to be is wrong.
yeah, because they said that they may have um coexisted, but they didn't mate.
Mhm.
So I put U Toronto study DNA said they didn't mate, but this is wrong. And I just tacked on the but coexisted part. So okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right. The new dates, in my opinion, add some support to the idea that there was probably a good deal of genetic exchange between Neanderthals and modern humans, Smith said. So now we have the paleontologist again, Smith, saying that the new dates that have been published, and in his opinion, so his thoughts, that there's further information or further support to the idea that there was intermarrying.
Mhm.
When you look at the anatomy of early modern Europeans, you also find a number of features that are hard to explain unless you allow the and some Neanderthals some ancestral status. They were not killed by us, they are us.
Okay, what can you say for this?
Um, uh, trying to understand if it's the author saying this part. When you look at the anatomy of early modern Europeans, you find a number of features, or is this still something or is it still saying what Smith said?
So I'm gonna say because it's in a quote that oh yeah, yeah, it's Smith
Okay,
that's saying that because it's in quotations. But I would say the author is in agreement with
with Smith.
it for the most part. So because otherwise he'll just say something like this study is wrong.
Right, right.
And I could even think of a good question that they could ask about like was there any support given to say that this DNA study is wrong, right? There's no
Mhm.
support, right,
Mhm.
for that. So that's just a good example of something that they might ask us about. So yeah, for I put down for paragraph 6, they interbred according to Smith. We didn't kill them, we became them. So that's our map. And what we now do is we look through the map for any repeated ideas. And if we do like a quick recap, so paragraph 1, we talked about the common theory about the fate of Neanderthals, right? And they
Mhm.
said that they did not intermarry, they did not trade, they were killed by Homo sapiens who were supposed to be smarter, um, and not as brutish. Paragraph 1 says that. Paragraph 2 contrast words it and said, hey, you know what? They did coexist. And this is the evidence. And it's this paper, October 26th, a paper um, about Vindiha Cave. And we also have the Fred Smith paleontologist or whatever, yeah, paleontologist guy to kind of support that. And then paragraph 3, we said traded and or interbred, and then we have some evidence for that. So far we have here that they coexisted, here that they traded
Introvert.
or interbred. here that they interbred, here that they at least coexisted, but I take it to mean that they did interbreed because even though the study says that they didn't, Smith, or rather the author, is saying that they did, like,
Mhm.
or that the study is wrong. And then six, that we interbred with them. So those are our repeated ideas or arguments. So in our map, or for our main idea, what can we write?
Main idea to me is early early Neanderthals and modern humans, uh, or I guess were originally thought not to uh, have intermarried or and to have been killed, but but we found but studies show or research shows that that's not true, that there was interbreeding and trading.
So I would say that we can do like a really like much like simpler or shorter one because truth is that there seems to be a good amount of evidence here that goes against what the author is saying, and uh so I would say just something as simple as Neanderthals interbred with Homo sapiens, or I should say uh Neanderthals disappeared because interbred with Homo sapiens. So now Um, so now, yeah, take a screenshot of the passage with all the highlights and the map that we
So I've been on a Windows computer for the longest.
wrote. Yeah,
Screenshot
yeah.
screenshot is
It's probably like Command Shift F4 or I don't know.
yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yep. So yeah, so that's why I had you do it so that we get the entire passage in one screen or without scrolling, so you can have that. And then you can see that and you can study it after, and you can see that what I'm putting in my highlights, I'm kind of just act as a pseudo map for the actual map that we wrote. But yeah, that's pretty much like how I would say to approach, these passages.
Okay.
What are your thoughts so far?
Actually, I really like that style. It makes me feel a little bit more confident in the passage, kind of understanding what I'm actually reading.
Mhm.
Helps me put in a little bit more focused thought on what's being argued and what's not being argued and what's being supported and not being supported,
Yep,
which
yep,
I feel like I was always having a trouble or issue
yep.
doing in the first pass and having to go back in and kind of
Yeah.
find to
So
support
yeah,
my.
this way is great because you understand it so well that you're not going to even need it. So let's try some of these questions out.
So, according to the passage, the belief that the Neanderthals and modern humans did not intermix was called into question by one, the kind of tools found with Neanderthal fossils, two, fossilized bodies, three, the condition of hybrid human fossils.
So what's the oh yeah, so another thing is to rephrase the question, just to make sure that you understand what they're asking for.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times, like there would be answer choices that are true statements, but we need to make sure that the answer answers the question. Yeah. So yeah, what's
Question is asking me the belief that Neanderthals and modern humans did not intermix was called. All right, so the idea or the passage wants to know if the Neanderthals and modern humans did not intermix. That was called into question, or what was the reason why the Neanderthals, modern humans, did not intermix?
Well, so what do they mean by called into question?
Um, like support or reasons for why it um it wasn't believed, or it was,
Hmm.
yeah.
So good, 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 good. Okay, what are your thoughts for these?
Um,
Let's start with one.
right off the back. So one, the kind of tools found with Neanderthals. So I kind of rephrase that now to um one of the reasons why the intermixing of these two groups or people were called into question, or is because they found tools, because of the tools that were found with the fossil with the Neanderthal fossils. Yeah, that was supported by the passage. They found stone tools and bone tools, and that was um kind of a point of why there wasn't intermixing. And two.
Wait, wait, wait. Sorry. So are we trying? Are we trying to find things that support the belief that they did not intermix, or are we trying to find things that weaken that belief?
Um, we're trying to find things to weaken the belief.
So, in other words, then,
They found tools with the Neanderthals. If they found these kind of tools with the Neanderthals, then that would, um, yeah. So this is like throwing me for a loop right now. I feel like I understand it, but I'm like, it's
so
hard. So pretty
because
much like,
like yeah, there's double negatives here. So what
yeah.
you can do, right, for weakener questions, right? Then this is what the question type is. It's a weakener question. You can just flip the thing that they're asking you to weaken and see what aligns with that. So if they're saying that, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, you know, did not mix, right? We can
Mhm.
say that, like, let's say this is Neanderthal and Homo sapiens. If they're together, I'm going to draw it like this bond between them. They're saying that this did not mix, that they did not mix, so that didn't happen. And they're asking if you're trying to weaken this belief, what would that be equivalent to? Well, that would be equivalent to a belief that says that they did intermix, right?
Okay.
So with weakener questions, you can just flip it and then see what agrees with that.
So
So, yeah.
essentially, we're trying to find reasons as to why
Hmm.
they did intermix, or why intermixing was present.
Yep, yep. Because
Okay.
it's kind of like you can weaken something by strengthening its opposite.
Okay. Okay. So for number one, then they this weakens the intermixing because they did find tools.
Yep. And I got rid of the word not and called it into question because that's a double negative and that can be confusing, you know? So, but if it's a double negative, it means you can cancel it out. So it's the same thing as what evidence do we have, or yeah, what supports the belief that they did intermix?
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I need that. So yeah, so one, the kind of tools that were found with the fossils, they found stone tools and bone tools, and they found the combination of the two.
So is that evidence for that supports them intermixing or not intermixing?
It's evidence that supports them intermixing,
Yep. And that would fit in with what we're looking for, right?
right?
Okay.
The fossilized bodies, yes, that's also evidence to show that there was intermixing, because they found or saw similar features between the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens.
That supports them intermixing or not?
Supports some intermixing.
Good.
And then three, the condition of hybrid human fossils. This one, we don't really, I feel like we don't really talk about the condition, or do we care about the condition of the fossils?
Very good. Very good. That's a very tricky one because it's so easy to overlook the word condition and to see human hybrid fossils. Like that could be this, right? With found Neanderthal fossil with Homo sapien characteristics, right? That
Mhm.
sounds like hybrid human fossils. And that's a very, very, very easy trap to fall into. So you did a great job in recognizing that the condition of the fossil is not relevant here.
Yeah.
And so it's like just that single word that can make or break someone for a passage like this. So um and yeah, I blocked out those choices because I didn't want you to think like, for instance, like you would, if I left it that way, like you would know that, like, I just wanted to make sure that you can do,
Right. Right
right?
now, I got you. Got you.
So yeah,
Um,
this would be
let's
what?
see.
Yep.
On to the next one. All right. Which of the following items of passage information provides the least support for the author's thesis?
Oh, it's
So,
another weakener, right?
right.
Let's see what we can do to make that, to rephrase it in a way that's better.
So I would go with which of the following provides, or which of the following has the most support for the author's idea?
So the author's thesis is the main idea. So if it's a weakener for that, it's a strengthener for the flipped version of the main idea. So if the main idea is that Neanderthals interbred with Homo sapiens, the least support for that would be saying that they did not interbreed, right?
Mhm.
So kind of like this again. So we're looking for something that would support the notion that they did not intermix.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then A, Neanderthals were found with bone tools. Um, we can kind of rule that out. I'll continue. For A, Neanderthals were found with bone tools, because the passage states that they were found with bone tools, or the combination of stone and bone tools. So that adds support to the author's thesis.
Yeah, because if they were found with bone tools, right? That would
Yeah,
mean that that would support the that they either intermixed or, traded or something at the
right.
very, right? So okay.
B, Neanderthals typically used stone tools. Um, well, passage told us that they commonly use the stone tools, so that just um those typically use the stone tools. That doesn't really, I feel like doesn't really add to the uh the author's thesis, because it's just reiterating what the passage told us.
Okay. So would this be a good choice, bad choice?
Um, it'd be a one second. I gotta open the door. Just 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, so neither I'll probably if I was going through this, I'll probably just hold on to B for now.
Yeah, let's
Um,
put it on standby.
all right, then C, Neanderthals were not hunted by our early modern ancestors. We can kind of throw this one out, or because we know that they found information to support that they weren't hunted. So it doesn't it further kind of add support. D, Neanderthal features are found in early modern Europeans. Again, more support that the passage also stated. So then I guess that leaves us with B.
Mhm. So this is a good example of the right answer not being not standing out as the right answer, but simply being the one that's least wrong.
Okay.
So you'll see that a lot. Um, so yeah, let's see if we can do like maybe like one more just because we're gonna have to wrap up in a bit. But yeah, let's do like one more.
Okay. All right. To understand how Neanderthals and modern humans interacted, which of the following subject areas would be most useful for scholars to know? I'll just kind of go through and rule them out. Political science, we can rule that one out. We don't really talk about politics at all within the passage.
Well, we're not going to talk about necessarily, I mean, maybe one of them, but
Mhm.
this type of question is more so like doesn't have to be stated. So, but what could be another reason why it wouldn't work? The political science thing.
Another reason why it couldn't work. Uh, are you like, are you hinting at the fact that that it was originally thought that they killed the Neanderthals, so there wouldn't be any kind of politics in that sense, or?
Oh no. I think I'm just saying like let's say that you study poli sci
Mhm.
and then like could you use that to learn about how Neanderthals and modern humans interacted? Um, I would
Mm,
say, yeah,
no, no, not
they don't really
necessarily.
have they didn't really have politics or anything like that, right? So,
Yeah, and we also there wasn't any, I guess, any references to the politics
but
within.
that's the thing though. Like, I want you to be careful with that, um, because a lot of these questions don't have to have anything like actually mentioned in the passage. It's like reasoning beyond the text type of thing, right?
Okay,
Like they could have like so yeah, yeah.
okay, that makes sense. Because I guess past history, they always tell you to, if it's not mentioned in the passage, then you can kind of just rule it out. But that helps to know not to
Wait,
put.
say that again?
I guess past study techniques they kind of gear or err on the side of if it's not specifically stated within the passage,
Yeah.
you can kind of like just rule it out automatically.
Oh yeah, I would say very much the opposite. I would say that if something's explicitly stated in the passage, it's unlikely to be verbatim what an answer would be. That's why that's why I want you to rephrase things and put things in your own words because you're going to see like different words used to describe the same kind of thing. So you want to be flexible like that. But like I said, the number one mistake people make is that they play mix and match. They find a word that's in the passage that matches a word in the answer choice, and that's like almost always going to give you that trap answer.
Okay.
So, so I would
Mm,
say, yeah, very much the opposite of that of the strategy, I guess, of if you can call it that of if it's mentioned, like if it's not mentioned, that it's not going to be the right answer because you're going to have inference questions, right? You're going to have imply questions. You're going to have things that say, this is a new information or new support or something like that. So that's also why I block out the passage because people like literally like I see them like when I used to not do this, like I see their eyes just
Crazy.
going, yeah, like they somewhat read the question and but they just scan the passage nonstop, and it's just that's not how you want to go. But but yeah, go on.
So in C genetics, I kind of want to select that and or hold on to that mainly because there are the mentioning of the interbreeding and then the DNA
Mhm.
that the passage alluded to. Economics, although trading was talked about, um, as far as the main support or what we have outlined here, we get more of the common theme of interbreeding more so than we do with trading. Um, history, yes, but the passage doesn't really focus too much on the history. It focuses more on the I guess we have to I guess we have to again refer more to what the passage was kind of telling us, and it was kind of hinting more on the interbreeding aspect.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, rule out A, rule out D, rule out B, and then choose C.
Yeah. So I know that they mentioned DNA in the passage, but if they didn't mention that, your answer should still be genetics, right? Because of
Because
the
then
reasoning. Was it?
because of the interbreeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the big thing, like that we put as our main idea. I mean, uh, so so yeah, like because if they didn't mention anything about the DNA, the answer will still be genetics. And I just want to point that out because I want to show that you don't need to have it specifically mentioned in the passage for it to be like an answer.
Okay. Okay.
So, and I guess like, as we continue to work together and stuff, you'll start to see what I mean when it comes to like, do you remember like that Picasso passage?
Yeah, it's like one of the first ones, and
Yeah,
he.
that was a great example of like all of like the that's the best example of showing you the common pitfalls with cars. Like the first, it's similar to this in a bit in that there was like the standard story, which was like Picasso was always a genius, and then there was Picasso's opinion that he learned to draw like a child, and so the standard story said things like verbatim, like he, retained his childhood genius. And like one of the first questions are like, yeah, the first question I think is like, which of the following, explains why Picasso's like, I don't know, growth in his career. And like, there's the answer choice that was like retention of his childhood genius that mostly everyone chooses because they literally use those words
Mhm.
in the passage, but the answer is one of the choices that said learning to work with apparent spontaneity. And nothing in the passage used those words, but the passage
Okay.
did say that he had to learn to draw like a child. And a child is not an academic painter. A child is someone who just does some
Great.
experimentation, right? And so that's a great example of a passage that
Okay. Okay.
kind of shows you that. And also for the questions that are like when they ask you like about a vocab word and they ask like how it's being used. I think that passage also had something like that. Like it said like uh nature. Like the passage said like
Yeah. Yeah.
Apollinaire is like the type of artist that like Mozart that relies on nature. And the question was what's meant, how does the author mean the word nature? And the
Mhm.
choices are like drawing trees and stuff like that. But it's not, it's more like the intuition or the instinct. So
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely. So main takeaways so far is uh well, first of all, you read everything. Don't disregard anything, especially, if it's in parentheses and stuff. Two, basically, yeah, like also, don't look for an answer being right simply because it's verbatim in a passage. Usually that's going to lead you astray. So you want to but ultimately what you want to do is you just want to kind of slow down and give yourself time to understand the passage thoroughly. And then when you go to the questions, you won't need to go back to the passage as much. If you need to go back to anything, it'll be going back to the map, but you want to just have that thorough understanding, rather than rushing through it, not having a thorough understanding and having to reread it. Because that's another like kind of paradox. Like people, of course, always tell me like, yeah, how am I gonna have time to write all this stuff out on the test? And um, I mean, I have like an answer for that, but aside from that, my answer to that is that if it's a matter of finishing a passage, reading a passage in 2 minutes and doing the questions and having to go back and ending up spending more time in the questions versus spending, let's say, 4 minutes on the passage, really understanding it, and then doing the questions, and the questions are going to come easy because you understand what they're asking. You can even predict some of those things that they're asking. And also, you don't need to reread because if you reread something, you're going to be ending up using that time anyway.
Right, right, right.
So I would say that, I mean, like, I wish I could go over the rest of this, but I just have to run for like another
No, you're,
meeting.
you're good. No, you're fine. It's cool.
But I would say just to try the rest of these questions out with
Okay.
with like find some way to block the passage and just look at the screenshot of the map over here and
Okay.
then try those out. And I would say, yeah, to practice that and to continue to practice cars writing out maps like this. And, when we meet next, we can go over, we can either, I mean, we can either like go over a passage that you did that you had trouble with that we can go over together. And then we can compare the map that we write to the map that you have. And
Yeah,
we can make
perfect, perfect.
adjustments that way. Or if you want to just do a brand new passage, we can do that as well. But
Okay.
yeah, try this strategy out. How do you feel about it?
All right, cool. I'm actually super excited about it. I think
Nice.
it's gonna kind of fit with me a little bit more.
That's awesome. That's good.
Oh,
Great. So let's see. This was this is like an hour and a half,
mhm.
basically. So that will be, oh, and then wait, so you're okay with like the YouTube
Yeah,
link?
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah,
So
whatever you want.
that's going to be 75 instead of the 100. So
Okay,
it's just going to be like 113. Um, on Venmo, this is my like name.
I think you dropped it in the
Yeah.
chat. All right.
Where are you located?
I'm currently in LA right now, but I'm hopping in a flight in a little bit to head back to Florida.
No, that's where you're from.
Yeah, yeah.
What part?
Orlando.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. What about you? Where you at right
New
now?
York.
New York. Okay, okay. I think I got you here. I'm gonna probably butcher this. ADNAN.
Yeah, Adnan, Khalid. Yep.
All right. Tutor. Yes. And I guess I know because you previously worked with MCAT Bros or no?
Oh, I worked with so I worked at Jack Westin, and then I'm working for a company called One Source Medicine today, like now, but mostly doing like my own thing with the channel and everything like that. That's how you found me, right? YouTube.
I found you. I think I saw your YouTube pop up, and I
Yep.
thought I had saw you previously on like MCAT Bros like a MCAT Bros tutor or something like that. Because I don't know, for some of your name seemed pretty familiar.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you should be getting it now.
Yeah. When would you like to meet next? All right,
Um,
thank you.
yep, no problem. Um, Depending on the schedule, we could probably shoot for a time next week. Next week, if not, if you're available still Fridays, that might be best for me. If not, we can do it 2 weeks from here. At least give me some time to kind of practice on the strategy.
Uh,
Typically do about 3 to 5 cars passengers a day, or try to at least.
mhm. Let me see. Oh, do you want to do uh Friday the 27th at 5 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that. That works.
Okay, awesome. I put you in for 5 p.m. Eastern, um, Standard Time, for Friday the 27th, basically a week from now.
Perfect, perfect.
Awesome. So, yep, any other questions or anything?
Nope. But if I have anything, I'll shoot you an email if you could
Awesome.
answer.
Great. So, yep, good luck with the rest of the car stuff, and yeah, see you later, all right?
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it, Shannon.